Well, only one of us has 3 trophies, you know?
What? Huh, what?
I'm just on the phone, James.
Your phone's on the bench over there.
It's a long-distance call. And I said to him, when was the last time you got gifted a pomegranate?
Why aren't they saying anything?
She's just in the bathroom. Would you stop listening in on my calls? It's really rude.
We're in the living room. You just came in here.
I'm so sorry. This is really rude of me. I'd better go.
That's all right. Just don't make phone calls in the living room. It's a bit weird.
Phone, James. I'm not talking to you.
What is going on right now?
Okay. Love you. Love you. All right.
Oh, that was a little cute. Was that Electra?
No, the bank.
What? Those trophies are participation awards from football, right? Like when you were 7 years old.
Yeah. I was a really good kick, actually.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Your head is about the right size. Hey, just sit really still for 1 sec. I'm going to get a run-up.
Oh, God. I will point out that he gave me a look. that was a real stare.
Yeah. I get in character.
Yeah, it's method acting 101.
Method acting. Or maybe I just want to kick you in the head.
Well, I do too, because my head is probably the right size and shape as a football. So.
You want to kick yourself in the head?
No, I'm just getting in the character of the football, you know?
Welcome to the Get Commanded podcast. It's the GCP, brought to you by POG, Palms Off Gaming, sponsor of this podcast. One size fits all is a lie when it comes to my head. I'm your host, Walt.
Yeah, true, actually. Hello, Commander players. I am the shoe that's on the other foot, James.
Again, you can tell who came into the script second and got to rip off the other.
Look, before we get to the command for this week, I'm sure many of you know because we've been non-stop talking about it in our Discord server. And we talked about it on this podcast. Mm-hmm. We were at Command Fest at the time of recording a week ago, but at the time you'll hear this will be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Time wibbly wobbly, that kind of thing. But I just really wanted, firstly, to say thank you to Good Games Australia for helping us get up there, and our Patreons for supporting us on Patreon to help us get up there. And
you guys footed half the bill fully.
Yep, it was very, very helpful. We probably wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise.
I would say so.
So really, really huge thanks to both Good Games and our Patreons. It was a really big thing for us to go up there. And honestly, we had just the best time meeting you all. We made some content up there. Yep. Which was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think you definitely want to check out the TikTok, right? Or if you prefer Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, they're all up everywhere.
They're everywhere.
But it's at Get Commanded on all of those platforms. But yeah, we've did a bunch of little interviews with some people to give away some Palms Off Gaming sleeves, but also just to hear people's thoughts on their favorite commanders, cards they'd ban, cards they'd unban. We even have, I think, just at after the time of recording this, we just got an interview with Glenn from Good Games Australia, who was running the entire event and who does play Commander, and we asked him about the kind of Commander he plays. So yeah, there's some really great interviews up there. Highly recommend checking them out for sure.
And more to come as well. There is a bit of a backlog, currently editing as fast as I can to get them out to all of you, but they are really, really fun. We got to speak to some really amazing players, really interesting opinions on the format, like what cards people would ban, what cards people would unban. We even got to chat to the artists that were featuring there, Compost and Kellogg's Loop.
That was really cool, actually. A couple of signatures from both of us on those, and some more excellent tokens from Compost as well.
Walt bought an amazing print of Ugin that I'm looking at right now in the recording studio. It is gorgeous. Kellogg's Loop's Secret Lair was
so good.
Oh, so just good. Amazing. And Melbourne-based.
Yeah.
So cool.
We're hoping to get him into some Commander games soon.
Yeah, Kellogg's Loops, if you're listening, we're coming for you.
We do have an incoming transmission from the deep depths of the galaxy, from the Space Commanders. It's time to get commanded.
All players should aim to win in every Commander game, but players should also train themselves to recognize other forms of achievement.
Are they like talking about like, just like personal goals and achievements? Like, like I want to like get a sub 30-minute 5K run.
Yep, I want to make the absolutely perfect toasted cheese sandwich. Yep,
I've already ticked that off.
Okay, well,
Toasties are elite.
You're killing it this year.
Yeah,
that's half your goals.
Yeah, just the 5K run to go. And to be honest, with the way my toasties are going, not going to achieve that.
I think they're probably not talking about that.
I think they're talking within Commander, right?
Yeah, as they usually want to do. Yes, so I reckon they're talking about basically things that feel cool and are an achievement but aren't winning, right? Like they're saying we should still aim to win. They're not saying give up on winning, but we should also train ourselves to recognize other forms of achievement. So I think we're kind of talking about little achievements to unlock when playing Commander. Like those little, when you're playing a video game and you finish Act 1 of a game and it pops up with the name of the mission and it's like Spider-Man evolved.
Yeah.
Unlock 30 points or a PlayStation trophy.
The little animation of the Xbox achievement
unlocked. Yeah, it feels like
that's
that kind
what
of
I'm
thing.
feeling.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
we're thinking like mid-game we can, because obviously a Commander game has a very decisive end.
Yes.
Where it's like someone wins the game or you lose the game and that's your end.
Yeah.
But along the way there are things that we can train our brain to recognize as some kind of like achievement.
Yeah.
Like I'm proud of myself for getting this goal that my deck was trying to do or something that I didn't realize my deck was trying to do and it did it.
I think it's important right off the bat as well to separate this from decks that have fully kind of divorced themselves from even looking for the win. So like Vorthos decks is what comes to mind. Not saying that Vorthos decks don't always try to win, but the focus of a Vorthos deck is usually primarily the fun theme that you're going for.
Well, it's flavor first.
It's flavor first, winning second.
Yeah.
I think we're talking more about like, okay, no, our decks are still built to win. We're still trying to win the game. But along the way, as you say, there will be other things we can focus on to kind of take our brain off just being only oriented towards the win all the time. And this will mean that, when you do lose, you can kind of still look back at the game and go, oh, I did lose, but I did that cool thing though.
I think that other decks that fall in the category of Vorthos that we won't be looking at as well are like Chaos decks, for example. They're like that. Building a Chaos deck is not about winning. Like if you're building a deck to win, you're definitely not building Chaos because you're not going to win that, Chief. Like, so I think in the same vein, Chaos decks kind of sit in that chair as well of like they're not trying to win. So the weird little achievements that they're trying to do were already the focus of their deck.
Yes.
Like, to get things like
Thieves Auction
to resolve or something like that. It was like, yeah, cool, all right, yeah, you did it, well done.
Well done, but like, let's also finish this game.
So we're looking at decks that Walt and I build specifically that have things within them that we can go, hey, nice, achievement unlocked. I'm going to go to the save menu and see the little collectible trophy that I got.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think that these kind of things are going to be really great if you're someone who gets really salty when you lose, which both me and James have fallen into this camp before.
I'm on a horrific losing streak right now. So maybe this episode is for me.
But rather than focus on the winning or losing, you can sort of focus on finding these other ways to have fun in game, and that can be your focus as well. So again, we're not giving up on winning, but this will be another way to feel accomplished when a game comes to an end. I think equally, this might be really good for if you're that person in the playgroup who wins all the time. This is another thing you can do is you can kind of slightly maybe downpower your decks by focusing on other ways that are like winning but aren't winning.
And even like in the deck building process, it can be like something you have in mind of like, oh, I'm going to include this card because imagine if I got to, like, it's Magical Christmas Land a little bit, but imagine if I got to pull it off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this will help to downpower your deck. And also when you're piloting, you'll also then be focused on these other things and not just, people who are really good at this game, they just are constantly seeing, okay, does that win me the game? Does that win me the game? Does that win me the game? And that's the focus that they're looking at the game through, which is probably why they win so much. But you can kind of reduce that slightly and maybe not win so much by focusing on some other things.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I think there's 3 categories that come to mind, 2 main ones and 1 very small one, I reckon, in terms of non-winning fun things that you can do. This first one is something I didn't realize I was doing until I started thinking about this transmission. I opened it a little bit in advance. And I noticed that this is something that a lot of my decks have that I just seem to do without even noticing that I'm doing it. But I'm going to call it a signature spell.
Like in is it Oathbreaker?
Oathbreaker actually has a signature spell where you have a Planeswalker as your kind of your commander.
Yeah.
And then you have a spell that's like your command.
It's instant or sorcery in the color identity of that Planeswalker.
And it's also in your command zone, effectively.
It's an interesting format if no one's checked it out. Oathbreaker does look really fun.
It does look really fun. But no, we're talking about, basically like this is like a little commander achievement, right? You pick one spell in your deck. It's not in your commander. It's not in your command zone. It's one spell in your deck that for flavor reasons accompanies your commander perfectly. So that if you cast the spell while the commander is out, you kind of feel this thing of like, ooh, it's happened. You know?
I have achieved something that is beyond winning.
Yeah.
I have achieved the perfect flavor.
Exactly.
Like when Richard Garfield was designing this game and the characters in this game, he wanted this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, sometimes it's really obvious. Sometimes it's literally in the name. I think that's probably the first category I would talk about is like in the name. I have an Estrad the Masked deck. In the Estrad the Masked precon was the card Estrad's Invocation.
Oh, and it's like good synergy as well.
It works great with the deck specifically. And a lot of the precons that they build will sort of have a spell like this, like the Mayel, the Anima, I think she's called, the Naya precon, long time ago now. She has like Mael's Aura or something, or Mael's Anima or something. There's some card in the enchantment in the 99 that's like if you, in your upkeep, if you have a creature with power 20 or greater, you win the game.
Oh, yeah, that's the,
It's got like a
hybrid green-red and then a white or
something like that. It's like Naya, but it's like there's like a thing if you have power 5 or greater, you do something, 10 or greater, you do something, and 20 or greater, you just win the game in your upkeep.
I like these spells in the precons, actually, because I also find that I think a lot of people, when they buy a precon, they immediately want to upgrade it. It's a very natural thing. And a lot of the time, these like named spells are designed for flavor reasons by like R&D. They're put in there for like pure, like trying to build a lore around the precon.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, they're one of the first spells to be cut because they're not great.
They can be, yeah.
They're like pretty... Estrad's Invocation's pretty sick. I will say that is pretty cool. But
that
like,
card was like $10 before it got reprinted recently.
Yeah, that's cracked. That's a great card.
Yeah.
But like, I think that some of the other spells that are like named or like in the lore of the commander, a lot of the time get cut. But honestly, if you buy a precon and you're like wanting to upgrade it, but you're even fearful of like doing, I've made this a bit too powerful.
Yeah.
It's a great way of being like, okay, well, for lore reasons, LAW or LORE reasons, you can keep it in the deck. Like just to make sure that you're, like you were saying before, if you're winning all the time, having a spell that's like maybe less powerful in your deck just brings that power level down a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just like a fun little achievement. If I have Estrad out and then I get Estrad's Invocation out, it's like, they're doing it.
I did it.
The Estrad thing is happening.
My Estrad deck is Estrading.
Yeah, exactly. In a similar vein, I actually, when I was building my Rith, the Awakener deck, I specifically made a point of including, and this time I actually included the printing I had when I was a kid.
Oh, is it that printing? I know exactly what card you're talking about here.
It's Rith's Charm.
So cool.
From Conflux, I believe. It's Naya, so green, red, white. There's 3 modes. You destroy non-basic land, you make 3 saplings, or you sort of fog 1 source. So you prevent all damage that one thing would deal.
And it's like all the other charms. It's exactly 1 pip of each color. You choose 1 mode.
Yep, exactly right. But yeah, it makes saplings, and Rith the Awakener makes saplings.
Synergizes. Look, you could like I said before, you could easily sub that out for a better card.
There are better cards out there, for sure.
To be honest, straight up, even your favorite sapling buyback spell, Sprout Swarm.
Sprout Swarm is a much better card.
It's just straight up much better than this because it buys itself back. It's cheaper. It's 1 colored pip. Yeah. Much better card. But like, you're playing an Elder Dragon.
Yeah.
Playing his charm in your deck.
It's his claw in the art,
and it's his magic that's like, like in the middle of his hand. It's so cool.
It's just so satisfying to have in the deck. And then, when it's out and your commander is out, it's a really cool thing. I think the next sort of type of flavor kind of signature spell you can have is a lore pairing. So this is kind of like, I would say, this is the LORE lore.
And in the story lore,
Yes, big time. Yeah. Like having a spell in the deck that like is explicitly supposed to be with the commander of your deck. So in my case, I have a Mowu Loyal Companion deck. I have Jiang Yangu. in the 99 of that deck
That's
because that
Mowu's
is
owner,
Mowu's
right?
loyal companion.
Yeah. That's really cute.
They are literally interdimensional planeswalking best friends.
It synergizes a bit. Like, it puts
It
counters
does.
on stuff,
And
but
then
it's like...
things with counters on tap for mana. But I've a couple of times come close to cutting it because there are better cards out
Yeah.
there. But I'm like,
100%
I
there are better
can't.
cards.
I can't do it. You
And
know?
he, like, Mo's in the Carter. Like, he's, like,
Yeah.
in the back of behind Zhang Yu of, like, frolicking in
Yes,
the field. Like,
exactly.
how can you cut that?
Exactly. You got to do it. It's the signature spell
Yeah.
of the deck, you know?
I think that, I want to shout out one of my decks that I brewed recently, which
Sure.
is technically an illegal commander pairing. But if we're talking about lore pairings,
Yes.
I do want to shout out my Pride Month deck.
Oh, definitely this fit.
This is like absolutely. So for context, if you haven't heard, last month was Pride Month, and in Pride Month, WotC kind of put out an optional bonus rule for Pride Month. It kind of like
When game stores were running events, they could run events with this as the rules for Commander.
yeah, and basically the additional rule was any legendary that can sit in your command zone has partner. So you can partner any two legendary creatures together. Oh my god, the possibilities were endless.
Yes.
One of the Discord servers.
Possibilities were endless. You could have Nadu and white.
You could have Nadu
Nadu
and
and
white,
red.
black, Nadu and red.
Nadu and black.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You had a really good
I'm
point.
jumping ahead. But the tournament itself,
Yeah.
mostly people, it was CDH. People were finding the most busted thing they could do. But you did
Yes.
not do that.
No, so while everyone else was pairing like Nadu and white stuff, I was like, no, this is a Pride event. I want a canon gay couple in my command zone. So I chose Ral Monsoon Mage, the new one from MH3, and Tomic, Wielder of Law from Murders at Karlov Manor.
Yep. Canonically in a gay relationship.
Canonically married. They are actually a gay couple. Now, I also included, by the way, this was a CDH event. So, like, obviously, there's not a lot of room for flavor cards, really.
Typically,
But I managed to jam Savor the Moment in my 99, in my 98 of that deck.
And specifically, it was the Pride Month secret lair
Correct.
from a couple of years back now.
Which is their wedding. Like, it depicts
Yep.
the kiss at the, I now
At the end of
pronounce
the
you
ceremony.
husbands. There
Yep.
you go, they kiss. And it's that moment. And I do want to explain how that card, by being included in my 99, got me a win.
Oh, really?
I managed, so it's an extra turn spell. For those that don't know,
Yes.
Savor the Moment is 1 blue and a blue, and you get an extra turn, but you skip the untap of that turn.
Mm-hmm.
I used it as a 3-mana draw one, effectively, because
it's basically what it does,
Yeah.
right? Like, you just go to your draw step. I guess if you have upkeep triggers, you get them again.
or another combat and you've got vigilance creatures, but like
there are times where it's good, but in CEDH, mostly those things are not relevant. It's just like draw another card.
yeah, so I had a Imperial Seal, which tutors a card to the
Yep.
top of library. You lose 2 life.
Okay.
And then I cast Savor the Moment. I went to my next turn. I drew that card, and I went off. It was great.
You cast Diabolic Tutor, is what you did. You paid 4 mana
Oh
to
my
get a card
god!
into your hand.
I built my own Diabolic Tutor. I built a black, blue, and 1 Diabolic
Yes.
Tutor. That's unbelievably
But
stupid.
I respect so much that you, for one, committed to having these pairing in the command zone,
Yeah.
and then that you found room for Savor the Moment,
'Cause,
and
yeah.
that you won with it.
I got a couple of wins, not at the tournament, but in
Yes.
like the training and lead up and at
Yep.
side events, I got a couple of wins. But yeah, like obviously you can pair like Atraxa and Rograk in
Yeah.
the command zone, and
Yeah.
that means you've got
5 color.
5 color,
good
and also
stuff.
you can start playing stuff like Fierce Guardianship,
Yeah,
Deflecting Swat.
'cause
That
you
makes
can-
a lot of sense. But Rograk and Atraxa aren't in love.
No, that we know of.
That's true. I've actually maybe jumping to conclusions
Yeah.
a bit. I haven't asked them.
You don't know.
But Ral and Tomic are,
Yeah,
and I
it's-
was
you made the right
really
call.
proud of it, and it effectively ended up being like, for those that are interested in CDH, it was like kind of a blue farm deck mixed with Kraken, Sakashima, Storm, payoff type things because of
was
Ral's ability. It was interesting.
4-color good stuff, and I think the Ral stuff was interesting as well. There
Yeah.
was some slight, like, sort of stormy kind of synergy.
The payoff with Ral, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I was really proud of myself for like not only doing it for like flavor reasons, but being bold enough to go to a tournament with that as well.
Yeah, big
Like there were
time.
prizes on the line. I'm pretty proud of myself for
Yeah.
getting through it at all.
I'm super glad that you went with it, for sure.
Thanks.
My lore pairing, my second one, I would say, I talked about it in the last episode when I got abducted on my own. Gandalf the White, and You Cannot Pass.
I did listen to that episode. Are you okay?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I was more worried about the house, but thankfully that turned out to be okay.
And it did everything under the kitchen sink that good?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough.
Look, You Cannot Pass is a pretty bad card. So 1 mana instant. It's not terrible, but yeah, you destroy a creature that blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this turn.
It was draft chaff.
It's not a very good card.
It was straight up, it was good in the limited environment because there was a lot of legendary creatures in the set.
Yeah.
For 1 white, you could be playing Swords to Plowshares, for example.
It was especially good in limited because the legendary creatures, your Ring Bearer becomes legendary, right? And
yes,
so
it was relevant in the set.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's the line. It's the line that Gandalf says on the bridge in the Mines of Moria.
And it's the correct line, right? Like in the book, he says you cannot pass you shall not pass.
I think he just says you cannot pass twice in the book. And in the film, he does say you cannot pass. And then the Balrog cracks the whip, and then he does the
You shall not pass.
Yeah, that's the famous one. But yes, You Cannot Pass is the line in the book, definitely.
You have to promise me if you ever do cast that spell, you
doing
have to do Ian McKellen.
I'm doing an Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
Oh no! Sometimes on the stream I've done the I wish it was never late and all this stuff.
Yeah,
I kind of half-ass it. I'm not half-assing You Cannot Pass.
You are going to stand up in the game store.
I'm going to pull a star.
Shall not pass.
Exactly right.
Amazing. I love it.
Look, Lord of the Rings, I think, has a lot of potential for these kind of lore pairings.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Merry and Pippin, Aragorn and Arwen, Sam and Taters. There's so
Sam
many.
and Lembas.
Yeah. Sam and the frying pan.
Yeah, Sam and any food.
Yeah. We love Sam. Look, there's more signature spells for sure. I think there's a third category here, which I guess is just called other flavor. I guess I said we wouldn't talk about Vorthos. I do have a Vorthos Knights list, where it's all about knights and their values and the way that a knight is. It's cards like Valorous Stance and Stand or Fall and Last One Standing.
And only running equipment that knights would feasibly
there's no Mask of Memory in the deck, but there's a Javelin of Lightning and there's an axe, a Bloodforged Battle Axe and all this stuff.
That card literally last night was crazy.
I fully did never read the card properly. Didn't realize that the tokens also make tokens.
Yes.
Insane.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely insane.
When a equipped creature with Bloodforged Battle Axe deals combat damage, you make a token copy of it, which means it also has the line of text of when that equipment equipped deals damage. It is literally exponential growth.
I think I ended up with 8 of them last night or something crazy, or 7. It was just absolutely silly.
Stupid.
And then in Seguin, they equip for 0. So that's the only downside to the card normally.
Silly.
Anyway, the flavor card in my Seguin deck is actually, most of it's flavor, but Chance for Glory feels just so. In the art, it is Aurelia, I think, saving a knight, in the art. Cool. But the chance, and it's basically an extra turn spell. You lose the game in that end step, and your creatures gain indestructible.
So it's a Final Fortune effect with a bit of extra stapled onto
exactly.
it. Exactly.
Sure. But it's so, it feels like if the knights are going to get there, then of course it's
this is a chance for glory.
You
almost want to hear the, rock opera playing in the background.
Yeah. Or equally, any montage in an animated film. Exactly. Also pretty cool. But yeah, anytime, this is a great card because you can also win with it.
Yeah.
And the flavor of winning with the chance for glory and the fact that you will fully just die in your end step if you don't get there. It's such a nice experience.
It's really cool. There's actually a lot of cards that I really like in that deck. When you cast, it feels very knighty. And every time you cast, it feels like one of these achievements. Hey, we're doing the Vorthos Knight thing.
Yeah,
really
we're all
cool.
in. We're all in here, for sure.
A card that I'm not entirely sure if this is Vorthos or just me being a bit of a weirdo. And, in my Phylaf deck, which is the Avengers, Endikar, and Command Zone, makes a bunch of plants.
Yep.
I run Phytotitan in the 99.
It's 30 Thursdays card.
It is it's a big boy
who likes to be large.
It's
a 6 mana 7/2.
I think he's a 5 mana 7/2. But he's
like that.
Specifically, he is a plant,
yes.
Which is really cool. And also, when he dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped at the next end step.
That's right.
So it's not a bad piece of synergy in my 5 life deck because I have a lot of like sacrifice
Fling
effects.
stuff
I have
as
a lot of
well.
flings. I have Greater Good is great with Fido Titan.
I never thought of that.
Fido
That's
Titan
kinda
plus
cooked.
Greater Good is...
Draw 7, discard 3, bring it back, draw 7, discard. That's really good.
I've actually had a real good play with that where I've managed to do the Fido Titan thing in once every turn on a turn cycle, so I do it 4 times.
Wow.
So I discarded, I think it was, 12 cards to the graveyard.
Yeah.
On my next turn, I Splendid Reclamations.
Oh, and just got
And
all the
just
lands
returned
back?
all my lands back.
Cooked.
It was a really good little combo. So, like, it does synergize.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny. That's the reason why I include it. And, like, every time it's in my hand, I'm like, there are objectively better spells for me to
Yes.
cast right now than this.
But this feels like the right thing to do. I mean,
And also, like, if I play it and then I get a 5 life trigger, I can put 4 counters on it, and now it's an 11-5.
yeah.
Like, that's, or 11-6. 4 counters, it's got 2 toughness, right?
It's
So
7-2,
6.
yeah.
Yeah, so
11-6. Yeah.
Bloody hell. That's
so funny.
actually crazy.
I love that.
And then I can fling it and deal 11 to your face.
I love it. I
And
think,
return
I mean, it's interesting. I think, is this the only plant in the 99 of your deck?
it is, yeah, 100%.
See, that's an
Name
achievement in and of itself, right?
Name
It's
me
like-
another plant that you can
Yeah,
cast.
that you would want to cast.
That you'd
as
want
well.
to
I mean,
cast.
Avenger of Zendikar would be pretty cooked, but that's not
That's
a
an
plant.
elemental.
That's an elemental.
Yeah. So, like, the
Wow.
only plant that, like, has a mana value and is a card,
Yeah.
not a token, in my deck is Fido Titan.
Well, that's an achievement in and of itself. It's
And
like I found the real plant, guys.
Yeah.
This one's not a 0-1 like all the others. This is an actual 7-2.
And I'm going to keep chopping it down and throwing it at you. I really like it in the deck. And every time I've cast it, I've gone, plant.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's
Yeah.
just funny. I probably in a similar vein always enjoy when I get Witch's Oven out in my Barbala Saga deck.
Yeah, that's like
It's
chef's
just
kiss.
it's just the vibe, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, Eldraine is perfect for this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like
Cauldrons, witches.
yeah, but yeah, putting something in the oven when Barbala Saga is specifically flying around in a giant pumpkin head. It's
That's an image.
it's very funny. I think to leave behind signature spells for a sec, we also just playing really Vorthosy decks can give us this experience as well, right? Like
Yeah.
you built a Niv Mizzet themed deck, right?
Yeah, I totally did. I forgot. It's disassembled now, which is a bit sad.
Mm.
But so after my Niv Mizzet Perun deck became CEDH, I felt a gaping hole in my heart of Vorthos.
Of casual Niv Mizzet
Of casual
decks,
Niv
yeah.
Mizzet. So I found the Niv Mizzet. I think it's the
I think it's the
Draco
Firemind.
Genius.
Oh,
I think it's
was it?
Draco
Okay.
Genius, the one that doesn't go infinite with
Yes,
Curiosity
because
effect.
Firemind also does. I
Firemind
think.
also goes
Yeah.
infinite. But yeah, I built a Izzet themed deck and had all Niv Mizzets that I could possibly run and a Rule Zeroed Niv Mizzet with Sliv Mizzet as well, which is one of the playtest cards from the Mystery Convention boosters.
Mystery Convention stuff, yeah.
It basically gives all slivers you control Niv Mizzet's ability, which, by the
very
way,
funny.
no other slivers in my
Nope.
deck. But it was a really, really fun deck, and I think like every Niv spell could be considered a signature spell in that deck. I actually had like a mini goal in my mind, which I achieved one time, which was have every Niv in the deck on board at the same time.
It's like putting together the pieces of Exodia at that point, right?
Honestly, I actually won the game from that position.
Wow.
I can't remember if
They
all of them
synergize with each other pretty well.
Well, anytime you draw a card, you're doing like 20 things.
Yeah.
Like it's like kind of crazy. But like I don't think I had all of them on the field when I won. But at one point, I had all 6 Niv Mizzets
Hell yeah.
on field at the same time.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's just such a vibe. I mean, in a similar vein, and again, maybe there's not so much a signature spell here, but when we were at Command Fest, we played with the fantastic Judge Richard, had a Bad Wolf typal deck.
Yeah.
Bad Wolf, of course, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the 9th Doctor, the first season of the reboot. So
Yeah, with
way
Rose
back in
Tyler.
2005, whatever it was.
Oh god, I feel old now.
I know, right? Almost 10 years old. 20 years old.
Oh, God.
All right, we're going to move right past that. Anyway, yes, it was Ninth Doctor was the commander with Clara as the companion. Admittedly, a bit of a flavor loss there. But the gag was that it was a wolf typal deck. So
Yeah.
Bad Wolf was an entire plot. It was kind of the season-long plot of the first season of the reboot. And so he built Ninth Doctor, who is the Doctor of that season, and Wolf Typal. It was very, very funny and
honestly,
very cool.
There was like one card that was like the signature spell that Richard pulled out in the Rule Zero conversation that we had while we were playing, and it was Howlhenge Overlord. It's basically an upkeep trigger for each wolf. You basically make another wolf, I'm pretty sure. It's like a weird... are you looking it up on Skyfall?
I've got it here.
You want to read it?
At the beginning of your upkeep, for each creature you control that's a wolf or a werewolf, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. It also has Slash, so people don't see it coming.
That's pretty cool. So you can spew out a ton of wolves on your turn. On the end step before your turn, flash this in. On your turn, upkeep, you get 2 of them. You spew, oh my god, spew out that many wolves.
It's actually kind of cracked.
Yeah, we didn't unfortunately see it happen because...
it was, look, the deck was in general not very strong.
Well, the other judge, Mateo, was playing a dinosaur type deck, and dinosaurs just rip wolves to shreds.
Admittedly, he also, like, I saw maybe it was the god hand, for sure. And then every draw was the perfect draw.
It was like Urza's Incubator on turn 2. It was like gas after gas after gas.
He never missed, basically. Oh, because it was fucking not Zakama.
Gishath.
Gishath. And he
flipped.
And so he just flipped like you can whiff in a Gishath deck. Even if you've got 30 dinosaurs or 35 dinosaurs, you can fully hit 1 dinosaur off the top or 0. And he hit like 4, and then he got a combat damage trigger the next turn, and he hit another 6 or something. Like we just couldn't, never came close.
Shout out Mateo, you won that game fair and square. But shout out Richard, your Bad Wolf Vorthos deck typal thing with the Ninth Doctor. Weird, wacky, and I loved how in the Rule Zero conversation that we had, you were like, Howlhenge Overlord is the whole reason this deck exists. It's an upkeep trigger. It makes wolves. The Ninth Doctor gives extra upkeeps. It's bad wolves, baby. It's funny. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm all in.
This is the thing I think about building an entire Vorthos deck is that almost every card in the deck is kind of the signature spell, right? Like, it's like, I'm doing the thing. This is the thing.
In my Is It themed type deck, I had Is It Charm.
Yeah.
And I was like, every time I cast Is It Charm, I'm like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Look, we've got lots left to talk about, including many more achievements for you to unlock. But before that, I reckon it's time for a thrifty interlude.
Ooh, a little break, a flavor break. Taste the rainbow, Skittles. We're talking about Skittles. I didn't have one planned
already for that. And this week's card is Skittles. No. New Skittles Secret Lair. No.
New Secret Lair alert.
Yeah, as is tradition, I will be performing, and this week the card is brought to life in monologue form from the perspective of someone in the card. James, would you like to read the card we're featuring this week?
Can I ask, these performances, right? These performances of where it's like someone in the card or the card itself talking. Is this before the card merchant has kidnapped them to sell? Is that like the law? You can debate it in the Thrifty Thursday channel on our Discord.
What's your headcanon for how this all comes together?
The Thrifty Thursdays card interlude of this week is Tyrant Guard. For X, 2 and a green, you get a creature that's a Tyrannid. Is this from the
Warhammer 40k?
Warhammer 40k?
Yep.
It's a 3/3. Also has Ravenous, which means this creature enters the battlefield with X +1 counters on it. If X is 5 or more, draw a card when it enters. And it also has Shield Wall. Sacrifice Tyrannid Guard. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Please, I am a royal guard. Yes, hello, up here. Do you see me now? Now, listen, I don't mean to be rude, but all the other people have been very polite. When they voice their disagreements, they maintain a reasonable distance of some meters away, and at this distance, discourse is possible, but rocks and other thrown, hard-sided objects may stay where they are. Please. It's just for safety. We want to meet as many subjects as we can. I said, please, could you just take 5 or 6 steps back? Please, I work very hard, and I want to maintain my employment so I may retire with a reasonable superannuation. Look, King Julian is a right and honourable lord, and it has been very hard for him coming here all the way from Madagascar. Get budgeted.
Oh my god. I had to. These are the moments where I wish there was a camera on us. I didn't know what voice Walt was going to go for to perform that tyrant guard.
Who's a tyrannid, by the way.
Tyrannid, which I think I misspoke of. I think tyrannid and tyrant are two words that a dyslexic person shouldn't be allowed to read in succession.
They have the same 5 letters.
Yeah. I didn't know what Walt was going for then. I knew the punchline. Yeah, good job. Thank you. you got me on that one.
Good.
You actually got me. I had to turn away.
I've stopped doing a practice one so that I can shock James. Look, Thrifty Thursdays happens every week in our Discord server, so you can check out the dedicated channel for that. Play some games or get some advice on your latest deck. The link to our Discord server is in the show notes.
It's an awesome place.
Yeah, we've been having a great time with it. Lately, there's so many people talking about
so
stuff.
many new members joining. We're actually really close to 200 members.
I know. I think we're at like 191 or something like that. Yeah.
I think let's do a giveaway or something.
Ooh,
I don't know. Anyway, back to fun, flavorful achievements and stuff like that.
The next category is a very broad category. Big numbers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so like... achievement unlocked being like I've achieved a ridiculous amount of like XP in this game, or like I've dealt 59 damage in a single swing of D&D combat.
This is exactly what those achievements that you play in games tend to look like, right? It's like, you know, I've been playing Spider-Man Remastered, and it's like get a combo meter of 100 is an achievement you have to unlock because you have to hit people 100 times without getting hit yourself. Just for fun, I've sorted these into easy, medium, and hard. I think that can be fun.
I see.
So
as
we're setting you these achievements, you can go to yourself, okay, like what level of achievement do I want to... Like if you were playing a video game, you know, you choose easy, medium, or hard, and then the difficulty scales to what you're doing. So
what's the Call of Duty equivalent of like private, lieutenant,
exactly.
veteran?
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to go through a few different things you can set numbers for. And yeah, again, this is just a way of having a thing you can achieve in a game that's not explicitly the thing that wins you the game on the spot.
And also, I think there's something to say about these number ones where you don't have to like start a game being like, right, I'm playing my lands deck and my goal is to get, you know, this many lands onto the battlefield at once. You don't have to start the game like that, but I think it's really good. And especially, like we said, if you're someone that does get salty at games, and I think genuinely I'm falling into this category because I'm losing at the moment, I think there is merit in just recognizing when it happens. Because sometimes you do it and you go, oh crap, it's turn 10 and I have... 15 mana, like 20 mana, or like something like that. It's like you can recognize it as an achievement, even if you didn't set out to achieve it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to do.
I will quote Ferris Bueller and say, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Yeah.
So Commander games are the same.
Go steal your friend's dad's car.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. And then try and put it in reverse to turn the odometer down. Like, that was the most teenage moment of that film. They thought that would work. Anyway.
What are you doing? What are you still here? The show's over.
Yeah,
go home. The episode isn't over. We've got things to do. Do you want to sort them into like categories of different types of decks?
Yes. So I think we should sort of go through some of the classic big types of decks in Commander.
Sure, the archetypes.
And what's easy, what's medium, what's hard. You mentioned lands.
Yeah.
What do you reckon would be the easy achievement level for land?
Well, I reckon like getting like a reasonable amount of lands on the battlefield, right? Like in my Fireleft deck, when I reach a certain point and like it's when I untap is when I notice it, because it's like, oh shit, I've got 20 lands on the battlefield. That's kind of great. I think 20 is a good number. If you can achieve 20 lands on the battlefield in a game, that's an achievable thing in a lands deck, and like you should be proud that you managed to do that. That means you've like hit every land drop, and you've cast like 4, 5, 6 land ramp spells in a game.
And probably done at least one of those massive ones, like bringing everything back from your bin or something like that. Yeah, I think 20 if you are playing a lands deck explicitly, 20 is reasonable achievement.
That's
but
like
it's
our easy level achievement. That's the easy level achievement. Sure.
I reckon the medium level achievement is getting every single basic land out of your library.
I have achieved this in my Fireleft deck.
It can happen. Like you go to cast your Rampant Growth and you go flick through the entire library and go, oh, there's nothing left.
I did the exact same. I cracked a Fabled Passage and was like, oh, fail to find. I guess I'm out of lands.
So funny. What do you reckon would be the hard level of land? I think we could just take it one step further and go get every single land
Oh my god!
onto the battlefield.
At that point, how do you win? Like, if you're in a landfall deck and you've
True.
now had every land,
Yeah.
how the fuck do you win from
You're
there?
like cast Rampaging Balots and you're like, nothing will ever happen.
I guess then you have to do stuff like Zuranorb and Crucible
Sack it all,
of
bring it all
Worlds.
back. I reckon that's probably the hint. If you're going to go for the actually getting every land out, for one, have like payoffs first.
Yeah.
But also you're going to need a sort of, I reckon, either like a root path purifier style thing. Everything becomes a basic.
Yeah.
That's a way to get it to
That's a
happen.
good one.
Or yeah, I reckon it's going to be some kind of scape shift, sack some lands, get them all back, and then maybe a Splendid Reclamation is the thing that gets everything on.
There is also that like 7 mana get 10 from your library.
Oh,
something.
Boundless
realms.
It gets a basic for every land you control.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you were at 15 and had Root Path Purifier,
You could-
and cast Boundless Realms, you might be like, I could
Yeah.
get the other 15 lands out of my deck.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever, because my Fireleth deck runs, I think, 40 lands.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever had 40. That
I
might be
don't
my
think-
next target to achieve in my Fireleth deck. If
it's
I can
hard
get
for a
40
reason.
lands.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It would just look stupid. I think the
It would be
closest...
half my deck,
Yeah.
like on the battlefield at the bottom half of my playmat.
I think, ironically, the closest I've gotten was not a lands deck. I think it was my Merrin deck, and it's because I have it's the Splendid Reclamation, it's the creature. It dies and does it.
Oh,
You know the
World
one.
Shape.
World Shaper. It's World Shaper.
Is it
It's called World Shaper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Attacks you mill 3. But yeah, when it dies, you get every land from your graveyard onto the battlefield. And I think I'd milled like 70 cards. And I did it. And I was like, oh, I have 30 mana or something.
my
I've
God.
not gotten to every land before, but I reckon that was the closest
I don't think I've
got.
done it either, but it's close.
It starts to be a pile. Like, you start not being able to feasibly see every land. It's
when
just
you
like,
tap it, you tap into a pile.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just tap to, like, you don't splay them out to say,
Nope.
this is how many tap
Nope.
lands I have. It's like, I don't have the room, bro.
Yep.
I'm like,
it's just pile,
Pile, yeah.
tap pile, untapped pile. Those
yeah.
are the two piles.
If you want to ask me how much mana I have untapped, let me know.
yeah,
I will count
I'll
them.
start
Yeah.
counting. Yeah.
Should we go into, let's do it like a card draw matters.
Sure,
deck
like
this
a
time.
wheels kind of a
Yeah.
deck. A deck that wants to draw a bunch of cards, and that's the win con.
I reckon an easy one to achieve is like drawing maybe like 15 cards in a single turn.
I reckon I've done that.
You reckon
I
in your
reckon-
Azor deck you have
yeah,
for sure.
My wheel deck for sure. I reckon there's been turns where I've gone. It's usually like you have a Teferi's Ageless Insight and you draw 8, and it becomes 16. Like
so, like
that's-
it's kind of like an easy to assemble combo where
Yeah.
it's like 15 is actually pretty low. Maybe it's like 20
I mean, I think we are in easy.
Yeah,
so easy
okay,
can be
fair
easy.
enough.
That's fine.
because like 15, one wheel and a doubler draw is
Yeah.
pretty achievable.
And also just like some of those effects that care about something, like they're checking for something and you draw that many cards, like even a Return of the Wild Speaker, right? You
Yeah,
just
that's
have a
good.
commander with 10+1 counters on it and it's a 5/5. Return of the Wild Speaker just
15
draws you
cards.
15. Like you might not even need to be in a wheels deck to get
Yeah,
that.
and honestly, you don't need to set out to the game to be like, I'm gonna try and in this game achieve 15 cards on one turn.
No, but look out for it.
Yeah,
and if it
and-
happens, go, whoa, I just did that.
This is pretty sick. And
Yeah.
like, because we always talk about it, when we go, oh, like there was this game and I drew like 15 cards and then I won. It's like, yeah, that's incredible. But sometimes you don't win from it. But
Yeah.
the fact that you manage to draw that many cards in one turn,
Yeah.
do something with it and like get benefit, like you should recognize yourself for it. Good job.
Yeah, I think a really great time to check in on this with yourself is actually when you lose.
Mm.
When you lose, like, look at the player who just killed you and go like, I see why you killed me. I just did thing X.
Yeah,
You know what I
like-
mean? Like, look at the things that you just did, and that's probably the reason that someone just eliminated you and be like, yeah, I just made a 40 power creature.
Or maybe
I'd
you're-
kill me too.
Maybe your medium level achievement on wheels is drawing 30 cards in a turn.
Yeah.
If someone draws 30 cards in a turn, you fucking kill that player.
Yeah,
like
you
don't like there is no question. They just threw 30 cards.
Yeah.
They are now the threat.
Yeah, you've got to do it. I think 30 is definitely a
Yeah.
medium. I reckon, okay, I'm going to extend that for the hard level achievement here.
Yeah.
Draw 30 cards without giving any to your opponents.
Oh, like not using a wheel?
You can't use Windfall. You can't use Wheel of Misfortune.
So
you can't do any of that.
It'd be like using Winds of Change or Tolarian Winds.
Tolarian Winds. One of these, like, discard your hand, draw that
Valakut
many.
Awakening
Valakut
also,
Awakening
yeah.
might get you there. Something like that. Or, yeah, I mean, it's conceivable to do this without, like, a sort of refill your hand effect if you just have a card I really love in my Wheels deck because... my Azor Lawbringer deck, because it puts a bunch of counters on stuff. That's usually how it wins. I make something really massive. I'm blanking on the name. There's a 4-mana instant. Vanish into memory.
Oh, you
2 blue-white. It's cracked.
blew me out with this card at Command Fest, you
It's
cheeky
good
devil.
so much of the time because people make creatures in a way that's really big. They make creatures really big without necessarily keeping them that way. And I'll be specific because what Vanish into memory does, you exile target creature and draw cards equal to its power.
Yep.
And then the next end step, you return it to the battlefield. Or maybe it's next upkeep. You return it to the battlefield and you discard cards equal to its toughness.
Yeah.
So anything that has been like unnaturally grown in power.
Like had a bunch of auras or +1 counters put on it.
There's there's times where you can like, someone's got a 10/10 creature, but it's like 8 +1 counters on it. It's like, cool. Exile this till your next end step. I'll draw 10. When it comes back, I'll discard 2.
Well, like I had a prowess creature coming at you or something, and you exiled it, and you drew like 5-6 cards from it.
Yep.
And then it came back and it was a 1/1.
Yep.
And you discarded 1. I'm like, that doesn't feel fucking fair.
Yeah.
Like,
You can also just kill the player, and then the thing can't come back, so you can't
true.
discard cards.
Also, if you do it on a token, like the token doesn't come back, then you don't discard any cards.
Yeah, so I reckon
Pretty
that's
cool card.
hard. Draw 30 without giving any to your opponents. It can be done, and I think I've done it before.
It would just have to be like self wheels. Like, the winds of change, Tolarian winds,
sure.
Valakut Awakening.
Or some kind of... Obviously, the cheat here is always having infinite mana. If you have infinite mana and then you cast... Pull from tomorrow or mind spring or something, doesing count. You gotta earn it.
Yeah, gotta fair and square draw those
Square.
cards.
Exactly right. Next category, every one of my decks. Someone said this to me the other day. Well, every single one of your decks is just secretly a token deck.
You have
You're not
now
wrong.
got an entire deck box just for your tokens.
I know, and it's getting full.
You actually might need a second.
It's getting to that threshold. But yes, if you're playing a token deck, I reckon the easy level here is creating 20 of the same token. You know what I mean? Like 20 saplings,
20 soldiers,
20
saplings.
goblins.
I think my brain immediately went to like Scoot Swarm.
Scoot Swarm's cheating.
Yeah.
Scoot Swarm's cheating. You can't do that. But
Sure.
yes, 20 saplings, 20 soldiers, 20 something. It can be done. I've done it before. I reckon you've probably almost certainly done this before.
I think I've done it weirdly in my Spellslinger deck, my Savine deck. I think
Yeah,
I've
just
ended up
cast
with
20
like
spells. Yep.
20 instant or sorceries trigger my Young Pyromancer.
Or your
20
Talrand, 20 Drakes.
20 Drakes.
Yep.
That honestly, yeah. I should recognize the fact that I had a Talrand down and I managed to cast 20 instant or sorceries to trigger it
that
without
puts
anyone at the table managing to remove it. That is an achievement.
That's an achievement unlocked right there, for sure.
That's like Bing, headlights, fireworks.
Yeah, gold trophy. What's a medium level for a token? It's so hard with tokens because it's so easy to go
just like
cracked.
the amount of tokens? Like I reckon like
reckon.
100 tokens seems like a really cool achievement to get to.
I reckon that's probably roughly medium. I know that sounds crazy, but like there are so many
It's
ways
not
to
out
make
of reach.
It's there's so many ways to make a silly number of tokens in one go in Commander.
Yeah, and like if you have like a token, like
Oh yeah,
a token doubler,
Parallel Lives.
Mondrak, or
there's the
Doubling Citizen.
tripler now as well from
There's the excuse me.
O'Hare. I forget which O'Hare it is. It's the from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, the mythic white creature. It's 6
What,
mana, and you
triples
just
tokens?
straight up, if you create tokens, you create triple that many
Holy
instead.
hell. Another Ixalan card that I was abroad for that I
Yeah.
totally missed,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of glad I missed out on it. Sounds cracked.
No, that card's absolutely busted.
What's the hard, as the token person, what do you reckon is something you would look down at your board state and go, wow, I cannot believe I achieved this in this game?
I reckon,
The
and this
hardest
is really, so it's the number doesn't go up, it actually goes down.
Sure.
Create 10 or more different tokens.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like
So we've gone
this.
completely against what we did
Yes.
for the easy level. Like, yes, 20 saplings, 20 goblins, that's
You've
cool.
got to be in like a populate deck for this.
And you've got to have a bunch of different types of token makers. You know, you've got to have like a clue thing and a food thing and a treasure thing and a...
Academy Manufacturer waking up.
Oh, yeah. Academy Manufacturer's like, I got 3 of those covered for you, bro.
Don't worry, only 7 more to go. But yeah, like make a soldier, make a citizen, make
a
a
sapling.
worm, a
Yes.
sapling,
Yeah.
a plant.
It's admittedly, this is terrible for your opponents because you look at your board state and you're like, oh god, what do you have? There's 5 of those and 4 of those.
What's
and 2
their
of
power
those.
and toughness?
Yeah.
Is that an 0-1 or a 1-1? 1-1.
Exactly.
No, this plant is a 1-1. This plant's an
plant's
0-1.
0-1.
Yeah.
For the sake of this, we will say that if the tokens have different like power, toughness, or keywords, that counts.
Yeah,
so you can
like
have
a human with
soldier.
haste.
Yep, 1-1 soldier, 1-1 human soldier. Those are different tokens
Yeah.
for the sake of this. If you had to represent them differently, then it counts.
But creating a spirit with flying and a spirit without flying.
Yep, counts.
Yeah,
counts. One's colorless, one's green.
Yep.
Counts. And my hint for like making whichever deck this goes in, this card will be busted in. I've just put in one of my decks. I think it's an absolute sleeper. I've not seen it anywhere. Audience with Tristani.
Is this from Murders?
It's from Murders A Color of Mana. It's the story highlights. It's really cool art of it as well. For 2 and a green, you create a 0/1 plant, and then you draw a card for each differently named token you control.
Oh God! If you, how much mana is it?
3. It's 2 and a green.
God, if you pay 3 and you draw 10,
Yeah.
that's an achievement,
In
man.
mono green,
that's
dude.
cracked. That's really cool.
I love that.
I
think
like that.
If you can make that happen, I want to know about it.
Also, I'm just throwing it out there midway through this section. If you achieve any of these, please take a photo and send it to us on
Yeah,
Discord.
absolutely.
I want to see these in our Discord.
Definitely.
This looks cool. Should we go into a different archetype? Let's
Sure.
go Graveyard.
Graveyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
I reckon an easy one, especially if you're in like a self-mill strategy,
Mm-hmm.
I reckon half your deck in your graveyard is a good
Yep.
achievement. Like if you're dedicated to milling, getting through half your deck in a game, that's a pretty good thing to achieve. And like
Yeah.
you should look at that and be like, wow, my deck did the thing.
Yeah.
And it did it really well.
And there's a way to quantify this pretty easily, which is when your graveyard becomes taller than your library.
Yes. I've actually
when
had
that
moments.
happens, it's
yeah.
a real, you see it happen, you're like, oh wow, that's how far I've gone.
I had moments in Savine, my Spellslinger deck, where I've just drawn and discarded so many cards
Yep.
that I've had my graveyard bigger than my library. And I'm
Yep.
like, wow, this is crazy. I've seen most of the cards in my
Yeah.
game.
Crazy.
Awesome.
I reckon the medium here, this is pretty hard again, but I think it's still medium relative to other things. Mill your entire deck.
Oh, are you saying like and win with that or just like have the achievement?
Have your entire deck be in your bin. And again, like you might lose because you might draw from an
Yeah.
empty library, but having reached that goal, like, and I guess I'm not counting someone milling you here. If someone like Altar of Dimensions you, that's
Yeah.
not an achievement for you, that's an achievement for them.
Yep, because that was them going out for you.
But if you can somehow manage to get your entire library into your bin.
Like you're running a Mesmeric or
Yeah.
Milliken, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I reckon that's an achievement to
Yeah,
get it all in
100%.
there.
That's crazy. And like, God, if you run Living Death
Yes.
in that deck,
Well, and I think, I reckon that's the hard level is because you can mill your entire deck. Like you can have no library, I guess is what I'm saying, but have a bunch of cards in your hand, bunch of things on the battlefield. I reckon an achievement would be having every single creature card in your deck in your graveyard.
whoa. So,
So that
if
when
you're
you
like
do
a
that Living
35
Death-
creature deck
Yep, have 35 creatures, so nothing on your battlefield, nothing in your hand,
and resolve a Living Death,
and then resolve a living death. I mean, that's like very hard
that's
level.
peak.
But
That's not hard. That is like, I mean, granted, that should win you the game. If you don't win the game from that little achievement,
just, I mean, one Gary in there is like,
Yeah.
okay, my devotion to black is 40.
yeah, that's oh God.
That gets you there.
All right, let's look at another thing. We've
Sure.
gone go wide. Let's go tall.
Big creatures.
Big creatures like stompy decks.
Okay. It's hard to quantify this because creatures can get massive.
Yeah.
I reckon easy, and this is maybe already too high, but getting to 100 total power on your board.
So discounting Galta Primal Hunger by 100.
Basically, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you're not having, this isn't one creature being massive, but like maybe you've got several massive creatures or one really big one and several small ones. 100 total power. Maybe that's too hard for easy. Maybe 80. 80 total power?
80, I don't know. My like Fire Left deck, I reckon I've got close to 100 power a few times, but I reckon
think it's feasible.
I've pretty much achievably can get to like 50 power on board.
I'm
in a
trying to
game.
think if I've ever gotten there in my Mowu deck. That would be the closest. Well, but then
like big stompy creatures. Yeah,
it does depend. I'll go into it later because I think there's a section in the hard bit to talk about it. Actually, no, I'll talk about it now. Lord of Extinction can just get you there.
Oh, is this the Count's Graveyards?
It's the power and toughness equals the number of cards in all graveyards.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, that
just
card-
having a Lord of Extinction can get you there.
Yeah, if you're in a mill everyone else out strategy,
Yeah.
that's pretty intense. But I
Yeah.
think if you're like in a Mowu deck, or if
Yeah,
you're in a
plus one
deck that
counters.
you're trying to buff all your creatures,
Yeah.
you're trying to do something without doing something else. So you should recognize when your deck does a really cool thing that it was meant to do.
Definitely.
So like if you, or maybe it's like big creatures and you're in a counter synergy. Say like one of your goals is to have 50 +1 counters across your creatures you control.
That's a good goal.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. I think this one varies a bit more, for
Yeah.
sure. I reckon the medium level of this one is getting to a certain amount of power on the one creature. I think that can be harder.
I also think this is an achievement I think that you should specify. Instead of using effects that are like star,
yes.
power and toughness.
Get a certain number of counters on that creature.
Yeah, or put enough auras or equipment on one creature to get it to 30 plus power.
Sure. We won't count a lot of extinction in this one. Yeah.
I've gotten close with what do you call Okuma, the whale wolf commander that I have. I've managed to have it at about 25.
So that it's literally an unblockable creature that kills a player every turn.
Yeah.
That's sick.
I mean, it's pretty cool, but also just being able to, like, if I have, like, the fling effect kind of thing, because all it needs to do is leave the battlefield and it drains someone for 25. I've had that moment before of like, wow, I have a gun to everybody's head at this table.
I reckon 25. Medium is get 25 power on one creature.
One creature.
And I reckon the hard here is get to 60 power on one creature. But I'm going to say, maybe 50. 50 is still massive. In this category, you're allowed to use Star.
Yeah. Oh, even then, I can see worlds where it's like really achievable to do this. Like, imagine if you've got like, all right, let's start with Galta, like a 12-12.
12-12, sure.
And then you've got Unnatural Growth, right? Which is the enchantment that doubles the power at the beginning of combat.
Yep.
Let's say you take 2 extra combats. 12-12,
24-24, 48. Yeah, you only need to buff it a little bit more.
It's pretty close already.
That's true. I didn't think about
Xenagos. On board. Yep. There you go. Bang.
And then you're at 96.
Whopping.
Holy cow. That's pretty sick.
3 cards. Yep. If you're in a big gruel stompy deck, they might all be in your deck.
I think Xenagos would be the deck to get there, probably.
Yeah.
Like, you have Xenagos in the command zone, maybe, and Galta in the 99. That would be sick.
That'd be cool.
I think to go down the +1 counters route, I could see this happening with like a hardened scale. So you're getting more counters when things happen. And a Forgotten Ancient. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1 counter on Forgotten Ancient. So
every time a player casts a spell, 2 counters.
2 counters.
Like Managorda Hydra.
Yeah. So now you're talking 25 spells across every player. If you got it...
If Managorda Hydra and Hardened Scales come down early...
True.
That could
just get
achievable.
there. Yep, for sure. Excuse you.
Hey.
Let's just do other fun things. All right. Other fun levels of stuff. Easy. This one's really fun. I love this card. I've cast it like 2 times ever. I want to cast it 100 more times. Dance with Calamity.
Oh, this is that kind of gambly type card, isn't it?
It's basically like Texas Hold'em. Not Texas Hold'em. What's the one that's where you count to 21? Blackjack. It's Blackjack. It's Blackjack, the card. For 8 mana, 7 and a red, you get a sorcery. You exile top card of your library any number of times, and then if the total mana value of those cards
exceeds 13,
is 13 or less. It's 13 or less, then you cast them all without paying their mana cost.
But if you exceed it,
nothing happens.
So if you bust, basically. So you're your own dealer.
Yes.
And you're dealing from your own library and you're like, hit me.
Yeah.
And someone reveals a card, it's like 5 CMC. You're like, okay, I'm only at 5. Hit me again. Another 3 drop. Okay, I'm at 8.
Yeah.
Hit me again. 6 drop. Okay, now I'm at 14. Bust.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like actual busts.
So you get to a certain point with this card where you're at like 10 and you're like, likelihood I hit 3 or less mana value here. Because if you hit 13, you get it. Yeah.
And it could be a land.
If you can get 13, that's the achievement. If you can get 13 with Dance of Calamity, that's an achievement for sure.
It's like the casual ad nauseum, in my opinion. It's like the fun version of ad nause.
But you get the spells too.
Yeah.
Like they just get put on the stack.
Them. It's crazy.
It's so fun.
I think something I really, really want to see happen in one of your decks, and you mentioned it last week when you were abducted on your own, is Millennium Calendar.
Well, we've also said before, this needs to make its way into your Tornos list.
I think it's better in my Tornos list than in your Gandalf deck.
Comfortably.
Because like your Gandalf deck is doubling ETBs and LTBs.
Yes.
It's doing nothing with untapping and doing nothing with stuff. It doesn't care about
Millennium Calendar at all.
I can.
You can copy the tapping ability to double the number of counters of Millennium Calendar.
I can copy the triggered ability of untapping permanents, but it only triggers once every untapped permanent. I might have to look at the wording on that.
I think it's whenever you untap 1 or more permanents, put that
so I could double that
Maybe.
triggered ability.
That probably would get doubled, wouldn't it? I'm
Man,
gonna look
this
up
is
the
actually a
ruling.
win condition in Tornos now.
Find the...
Again, another Ixalan card that I totally just
Holy
missed.
cow, it's a triggered ability. Whenever you untap one or more permanents
Put
during
that
your untap
many-
step, put that many time counters.
So I can copy that ability, and then I can copy the double ability, because it's also got pay 2 and tap it, double the amount of counters on it.
Sorry, I'm looking at the rulings in case it'll say... Don't know.
You're doing
Sorry,
Scryfall?
what was your question?
It's got an ability of like pay 2, tap it, double the counters.
Double the number of
right?
counters.
Yeah.
You can definitely copy that.
I can definitely copy that at
Definitely.
the very least.
You can also... the third ability is a triggered ability. So if for some reason you needed to deal 2,000 damage, would you tell you what Millennium Calendar
Do you want
does?
to just read the card? Because
Yeah.
if this is
It's
one of
a
those
weird-
cards that got printed, and I think the only people that paid attention to it were me and you.
Yeah, people who like to do weird shit,
Yeah.
basically. For one generic mana, you get a legendary artifact. It's called the Millennium Calendar. And if you untap one or more permanents during your untap step, put that many time counters on it. For 2 generic, you can tap it and double the number of time counters on Millennium Calendar. And when there are 1,000 or more time counters on it, you sacrifice it and each opponent loses 1,000 life. So yeah.
So you see
it's-
what we're saying here? Like that, getting
Yeah,
1,000
getting
is
to
a win
1,000,
con. To
yeah.
be fair, like no one's living through 1,000 life
No.
unless they've gained infinite
No
life.
chance.
But like, if you get to 1,000, fuck me. That's even if you get to like close, like if you get to 928.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, so close.
Home stretch,
Yeah,
yeah. Like
so close.
even if you are just one double away,
Yeah.
if you can get to 500 and know
That's
if you
pretty
could have tapped it
amazing.
one more time, you would have had everybody.
Yeah.
That's an achievement in and of itself.
There's other cards like this, like Helix Pinnacle is the
Yep.
1 green, and you pay X and you put that many, I think it's growth
Tower
counters.
Tower counters on it,
Anyway,
yeah.
and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 100 of those, you win the game.
And it's got Shroud, so you basically can't answer it.
Yeah.
So you've just got to hope that people don't have enough mana to sink into it to win.
But I think there's a lot of cards like this where it's like,
It's like
you have to
how
like,
can you count? Yeah.
and they're always designed in a way of like, you almost have to go all in on it to get it
Yes.
to win you the game.
I think there's definitely a line that you draw here between cards that like require all this investment and cards that just like come down, and if you've gotten there already, you win.
Like Revel in Riches.
Revel and Riches style
Felidar
stuff.
Sovereign.
Felidar Sovereign, that in your upkeep you win the game if blah blah has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Even what's the gain control of artifacts dragon? That
Hellkite
Hellkite Tyrant
Yeah.
steals a bunch of artifacts when it deals combat damage. If you have 20 in your upkeep, you win. Those, I think, I would say generally less interesting and less of an achievement to get there, because they kind of, you can do like entirely non-Hellkite Tyrant things for 10 turns and then just drop Hellkite Tyrant and be like, okay, I win.
I gotcha.
Whereas Helix Pinnacle and Millennium Calendar, it's like, no, this is your plan now.
Yeah, you have to work for this.
You do.
And I think that's an achievement. If like
Yeah.
if you've worked for it, like you really have to put in the mana or the time or the
Yeah.
turns, taking a turn off to double the counters.
Yep.
And that's good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have one that I'm going to set myself here in the hard category of just fun stuff to do. Knight's Charge is an enchantment for 1 black white in my Knight's deck. Whenever a knight you control attacks, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Has this ability. For 6 black white, you
Correct.
sacrifice it and you return every knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. My goal is to get like 10 knights back.
All with Knight's Charge.
Just with Knight's Charge. Just pay 8 and that will be the win. Get 10 knights back, attack, win.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Haste somewhere, just swing.
I wonder if surely it would just give haste. Maybe it doesn't.
I'm not sure, actually. I did, funnily enough, because we played a game last night where you played your Knight's deck,
Yep.
and I knew you'd upgraded it, but I hadn't seen the upgrade, so I went on your Moxfield profile, and I saw this card
Yep.
as one of the includes. I was like, what?
Oh, it doesn't give haste. Okay, it's a real achievement. If you can win with that card, because
Yeah.
you've got to bring them all back.
End step
Admittedly,
before your turn?
It's not, it is instant speed.
Yeah,
So you
end step
could
before
do
your
that.
turn.
You
Yeah.
could do that. I think I saw JLK win a game nights with this a long time ago.
Wow, damn.
So it can be done for sure. That's
Look,
my hard.
Something that I think is just like another fun thing to do instead of like easy, medium, hard achievements. Something you can do is just keep track of like your personal bests in decks.
I like the most you've had of a thing.
Yeah, so like, how we were talking about like power on creatures and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff. I want to give an example of my 9th Doctor deck that's something I'm keeping track of at the moment.
Sure.
And I nearly had it the other night. I nearly beat it. Is the most upkeeps I can have in a single turn.
Sure. So Ninth Doctor gives you an extra upkeep when he untaps during your untap step.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, but you have a Sphinx of the Second Sun.
I have a Paradox Haze.
You have the ability to copy the Ninth Doctor trigger with Strident
Strident
Resonator.
Resonator.
So you've
So-
gotten to 5?
I've gotten to 5. My max is 5.
That's very impressive already.
So I think, I can't remember the exact board state, but I think it was 9th Doctor upkeep copied. So there's 2.
Yep.
Paradox Haze, regular upkeep,
Yep.
Sphinx of the Second Sun.
That's
I think
5.
that was the amount of upkeeps that I had.
Based on the game we had last night, I think the way to beat this is the card that I saw, which was
Extravagant replication.
Extravagant replication. In your upkeep makes a copy of a non-land permanent you control. And he had a Sphinx of the Second Sun. He got immediately answered because I put a hold on the whole game and was like, we must deal with this or we will lose to James untapping, upkeeping, and drawing 4 times every turn.
It was
and then
correct,
more,
but
and
I
then
cried
more.
about it.
Yeah, it was sad to see. But yeah, I think just extravagant replication and anything that gives you more upkeeps is probably the way to get there.
Yeah. But like that's something you can keep track of.
I like that. I like that.
Things that your deck is trying to do. Like I'm trying to get as many upkeeps in a single turn as possible.
Yeah.
At the moment, the most I've had is 5. I reckon I'm really close to 6. I just need because I think on that turn I would have had 6, but someone killed my 9th Doctor before my Sphinx trigger because I would have
then
had
you would
6
have
if it
had-
untapped.
It is technically your untapped
Yeah,
step.
so it
when
would've
you do
triggered
a Sphinx.
again.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, weird.
I think I like this, and I think you could basically do that with almost every category we just said.
Yeah.
Of like, if you have a goal with power to get to a certain amount, you could also just be like, how high have I gone in power in this Mobu Loyal Companion deck?
Yeah.
Have I gone to 150?
Maybe
have I gone
just
to
keep
200?
like a piece of paper in your deck box and just
That's cool. Little tally
record.
card.
Yeah, like a little
how high do
tally.
you get?
That's cute.
The last category I want to talk about, it's like a much shorter category here. I want to talk about non-winning combos. Combinations of cards that just like do something cool and don't win you the game and maybe not even get you close, but it feels like an achievement to do it.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is like Cauldra.
Oh, the
3 equipment.
3 equipment.
So there's Helm of Cauldra, Shield of Cauldra, and Sword of Cauldra. And if you control all 3 of them, they all buff each other. Like they give each other indestructible and stuff. But if you control all 3 of them, you make like a 4/4 avatar, like with lifelink or something.
and indestructible as well.
Something like that. And then
yeah.
you attach all of them to Cauldra. And so you basically, Cauldra returns from the grave because you've like, it's very Exodia sort of feeling.
Yeah.
And you can't use Cauldra complete.
Oh yeah, that is actually a card from Modern Horizons, isn't it? Yeah.
That gave living weapons. It doesn't admittedly like actually make Cauldra, but it basically does the same thing. No, Cauldra, the helm, the shield, the sword, make Cauldra. That's a combo right there.
Even better if you can get Cauldra complete and equipped with helm, shield, and sword.
Double Cauldra.
That's a bit of a win.
He's not only is he back, he's also now Phyrexian.
You could also do stuff like assembling the Christmas land, the magical Christmas land scenario.
Sure.
I think is like stuff that you can say are combos that don't win the game.
Yeah.
Like for example, I've assembled it a few times now, but if I have Azusa Lost But Seeking,
So you play 2 additional lands every turn.
a fetch land, and a Crucible of Worlds
You
or a
play-
Raminap Excavator.
Play lands from your graveyard. You literally just can play. You get 6 landfall triggers a turn.
Yep, and you can play 3 lands a turn.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
It's a great synergy in my landfall deck, but like
It doesn't win the game.
It doesn't win the game, but it's also one of those things of like I had to have 3 permanents to set this up.
None of which is your commander.
None of them are my commander, and also no one's answered them, so I can do it. Like
You often, I know, when you introduce this deck, you talk about the fact that you don't play the Onslaught fetch lands. Right?
yeah,
You
or the
don't-
Khan's fetch lands.
Yeah,
or
the
anything
Khan's
like,
fetch lands. No, you don't play any of those. And so, yeah, like you need to have either Evolving Wilds, in which case they're all tapped, way
Yeah.
worse.
The best one in the deck is Fabled Passage.
Fabled Passage is
Yeah.
definitely the most cracked way to do it, for sure. I've got another weird one. I love this card, Compost. I put it in one deck. It's bad. For 1 and a green, it's an enchantment that says whenever a black card is put into an opponent's graveyard, draw a card.
That doesn't feel good.
It's not a very good card, but you could play Painter's Servant and name black.
You just make everything
Every
black.
card becomes black, and
That's
so every
funny.
single card that hits an opponent's bin from the battlefield, from the graveyard, from hand, from library, anywhere, you draw a card.
That's funny. I'm sure there are tons of combos out there like this that are
Sure.
like, you wouldn't run them in a commander deck.
No.
But you could.
But you
and
can.
if you did it, oh my God, the table would be like, what the fuck have you just assembled?
You can't feel bad about it, right? It's like you've done an absolutely silly combination of cards, but it's just like in case of Compost, it's like if nothing dies or gets milled, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like, you've invested all of this, and it's like I might draw
add
cards.
a third card to that combo.
I mean, a board wipe.
Helps.
Would be sick for sure.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I have one more that I want to shout out, which is in my Azor the Lawbringer deck. One of the few infinite combos I actually play.
Oh, this is yours.
Shabraz Skyshark and Drog Skull Reaver. Shabraz Skyshark says whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on Shabraz and gain a life. Drog Skull Reaver says whenever you gain life, draw a card, infinitely draw your entire deck and die on the stack because you don't play Thassa's Oracle in there.
And also, there is no way to elect to stop that combo.
Nope.
Once it starts, it doesn't end in the same
maze.
In the same way that the combo of the life gain one, the Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood.
Yep, you can't
once
stop
that
it.
starts, it doesn't stop.
No.
In the exact same way, but this one doesn't win you the game. It immediately loses the game.
I just think it's so funny.
And you don't play a lab man in that deck either,
I don't play
dude. That's so
any
funny.
effect to profit from having no cards in library because I find them personally a bit boring.
I have to find a way to kill you with that.
There's a world where I hit some kind of like these cards are not in the deck anymore, but there's a world where in this deck I play both Aetherflux Reservoir and like Beacon of Immortality. And even though I'm not like gaining all that much life, like I'm gaining a life for every card that I draw, but like I somehow, because Elixir of Immortality is instant speed.
Yeah.
You know, you like wait till you're drawing your last card,
and you
double your life total. There's a card draw trigger on the stack, but you gain, you have to be very careful about timing.
You'd have to win the game with Aetherflux.
Yeah,
before
you draw your last
yeah.
card. Anyway, there'd be a way to make
Bloody
it work.
hell.
But if you do, like you got there, you know what I mean?
That's silly.
It's silly and fun.
There are definitely combos, and I'm really keen to hear like the listeners like combos that are like they don't win the game, but they're amazing when they happen.
And they're funny.
Yeah.
Definitely. Look, we probably sound like a broken record at this point, but winning isn't everything. If you struggle with losing or even winning too often, you should consider giving yourself some little achievements to tick off along the way. It might sweeten that loss or make every single game feel like a win. So, Space Commanders, command received.
And achievement unlocked.
That's it.
I like it.
To the listeners, do you feel commanded? What do you think of our achievements? And do you have any that we didn't mention?
Yeah, and if you achieve any of our achievements, please post it, tag us, or send it in the Discord because I want to see it.
Let us know.
Yeah, you can do that on all like the social media platforms, the Twitter, the X now, and Instagram @GetCommanded, or jump in our Twitch chat and you can talk to us live at twitch.tv/GetCommanded every single Monday at 7 Melbourne time, or you can watch all that content on demand at YouTube. But yeah, jump in the Discord and send photos of your board state where you've achieved these things.
We want to know about it. And the best way to support the Get Commanded podcast is over on Patreon. They're the reason that we got to go to Command Fest along with good games, so we can't thank them enough. So we'd like to thank our patrons, Fuzzy, Bottomless Potamus, Dyer, Dylan Nork, Bertie, Crazy Logic, and Benjamin. And an extra special shout out to Fletcher Cutting and Wizard Down Under, who support us in the Space Commander tier. You're the best.
You are the best. And shout out very quickly to Ben, who we played our first Patreon game with.
Yes.
Really fun game.
Definitely.
Really fun game.
Definitely.
And the streak of us losing to our patrons continues.
Yep.
Thanks again to Palms Off Gaming for sponsoring our podcast. These guys create awesome deck boxes, sleeves, binders, and just other gaming accessories. We gave out so much Palms Off Gaming stuff at Command Fest and got some really great feedback from it. So if you missed out at Command Fest, you can go to palmsoffgaming.com.au /#GetCommanded. And you can get all that awesome product at a 10% discount. And you support the show at the same time. So palmsoffgaming.com.au /#GetCommanded. Get all your swag from Pog.
Yeah, and keep an eye on their socials as well. We are aware of a couple of announcements that will be coming soon of some really cool stuff that you'll definitely want to know about.
Well, I mean, if you didn't see it just recently, the limited edition Palms Off Gaming binders have just been released.
Black and gold. They're massive. They look incredible.
You definitely want to be following us on our socials in the next couple of weeks because we'll be putting something up in relation to those binders very soon.
Definitely. All right, that's all the magic stuff. It is tradition. We do Planeswalk at the end. Outside Commander, outside of Magic, where are we going this week, James?
I'm going to recommend a band that I think I've recommended on Planeswalks before. It's In Heart's Wake.
We have talked about this before.
Yes, because I went to... So I think the last time we spoke about it, I was talking about that I went to their 10th anniversary of their first album, Divination. sequel to that album has just come out.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
called Incarnation.
Hey.
And the reason why I want to shout it out, firstly, amazing album. Like, seriously, if you're like a heavy metal or just like gent or rock and roll guy, gal, them, go listen to this. It's a fucking incredible album. The reason why I want to shout it out is because In Heart's Wake do this really amazing thing where they really care and think about the order of the songs on the album, the reason the albums are released in the order that they're released in. They did a really great pair of albums called Earthwalker and Skydancer. And it was like this view on Native American culture and a kind of a view on the world from the perspective of Earth and then from us as people on Earth.
Oh.
So Earthwalker was very much like talking about Mother Earth. Skydancer was talking about man on Earth and the damage. So Earthwalker had a very kind of welcoming vibe to it, and Skydancer was very aggressive, very heavy.
Interesting.
And so that was a really great album duo, and they did it a year apart from each other. This album duo is 10 years apart from each other. So Divination came out 10 years ago, and each song on the album was linked to a tarot card. So there was the Chariot, there was the Sun, there was a bunch of cards on there. There was the Tower on that album as well. There was a bunch of different cards. But this album, Incarnation, is all of the other tarot cards that weren't mentioned, but inverted. Because I'm not sure if you know this about tarot readings.
The side that you invert when you're giving a tarot reading matters. You can have
It changes the meaning of it.
Yeah, you can have a card, and if it's inverted when it's pulled out of the deck, it means something different to you, the person getting a reading. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got, and in the album song, like on iTunes, on Spotify, all the names are upside down. They've managed to spell out each name of the song upside down.
Cool.
And one of the cards they reference from the tarot deck is Wheel of Fortune. And I just thought it was really cool. But seriously, this album is sick. The themes on it are amazing. They do one of the songs called Shishigami, which I believe the tarot card linked to it is potentially death. I can't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, the whole view of it is like how divisive topics are these days, like how black and white, how dichotomous everything is becoming. Really great song, amazing lyrics, great featured artists as well. Fall From Veil is in there as well. Like, just go listen to the album. If you're a metal fan, go listen to it. Incarnation, In Heart's Wake. Do yourself a favor, go out and buy it. Molly Meldrum, eat your heart out.
I love concept albums that have a really strong theme, and they're trying to tell a cohesive story across multiple songs. I think it's a really cool thing.
The music videos are also next level.
Cool.
They spent budget on these music videos. And they're going on tour in September as well, and I'll be at the Melbourne show. So if you wanted to come
Maybe we
say
can
hi.
chuck a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Nice. Well, that's all we have time for. We'll see you next Friday for another transmission from the Space Commanders.
Goodbye, Commander players.